Let's take a look at the equities market and see how the market finished off yesterday. The market is actually set in continuous trade at this time, but bullish sentiment actually remained entrenched for the second consecutive session, with the index, at least the benchmark index, in the positive territory, 0.93%, closing at 28,205.62 points. Rotimi Fakayejo is the Chief Executive at Enterprise Stockbrokers, and he joins us on the program to discuss how the market ended yesterday. Good morning, Rotimi.
Well, good morning.
Good to have you on the program. Tell us what happened. Talk to us about what led to this persistent positive movement in the market.
Well, I think from all we can see that in the last 2-3 days there's been a very high demand for the shares of the banking sector stocks, particularly Guaranty Trust Bank and Zenith Bank. Likewise, we saw a huge volume being traded in Access Bank yesterday, and I think this coupled with the increase in the price, the upward movement in the price of Dangote cement is responsible for the trend that we saw yesterday. With a whopping 0.93%, I think that is quite huge with respect to the economic situation that we're passing through. In the wake of a drop in the global oil price to about $43, and also the increase in the NPR from 12 to 14%. In spite of all of this, we still saw that change in the market yesterday. So primarily what we saw yesterday was demand push. So as a result of the demand for the stocks of Guaranty Trust Bank, Zenith Bank, a few others, and also Dangote Cement, that were actually responsible for what we saw.
Consider the market's value for Dangote Cement, that is quite understandable. But if you look at how the earnings have been, the poor earnings, not too impressive earnings that we've been getting from the exchange as posted by the quoted companies, how can we describe this sudden shift from how the market has been reacting negatively to this positive position?
Well, in fairness, the market has been very responsive in its, with respect to the results that have been released. We saw quite a very, some results that when they came, the market didn't take them in good light at all. We saw the happenings after the release of the results of WAPCO with a $30 billion loss, and also a few others that actually followed suit. We also saw that of FBN Holdings. The expectation is that it will have been worse than what we saw, but for the earnings from foreign exchange transactions, which is actually closing up the deficits that will have been exposed in their financials. And that investors, to me, I believe they didn't look at that result very well, because if they did, they would see that there's not going to be continuity in that kind of inflow or revenue that came from the foreign exchange gain on foreign exchange transactions. So I think that also, I believe, the effect of that is going to come on a later date. But with all of the results that have come so far, none really has been very impressive, except for a very few ones, like Okumu Oil PLC, which came yesterday. It was quite fantastic, and I think that is about being the best that has come since since the recent release of Q2 results of scooter stocks.
While some may think that it may be too early to begin to score the activities at the exchange, the equities market now, against the hike in the interest rate, it seems that there's some kind of attraction to equities now, despite the rates, the attractiveness at the treasury bills market.
Well, to me, it's not an attraction, because what will you do with an uncertainty when you have a certainty with an increasing rate of return? That is, with the NPR at 14%, which is very certain, compared to the flip-flop position of the equity market, which you cannot actually predict. So investors that would rather prefer to go for the monetary policy instruments. But I think, but with what we have seen, activities must go on in the equity market. So for that reason, we will still continually see movement either upward or downward at every point in time. Though the volume and the value in the market have shrunk significantly, but even at that, the market is still moving on. And so far today also, we are still seeing some very good movement, volume being done. Just at about this time, we are seeing about 7.18 million shares of Guaranteed Trust Bank having been traded for a value of about 164 million. For this kind of early period, it shows that there is a huge demand for the stock. And I think it is not far from the fact that they are promised that they're going to, in their board meeting that we hold, that they're going to have a dividend payment for investors in the interim position. So I think that is all that we are seeing presently.
Thank you so much, Rotimi. Analysts are actually looking at a positive outcome for today's trading session as well. We do appreciate your time with us on the show. Rotimi Fakayejo, CEO, Enterprise Stock Brokers. And that's where we'll draw the curtain on today's edition of Business Morning. Thank you so much for spending your time with us on the show. I am Bolaji Akinwale. Bye for now.